So we're getting deep into Starfield, everybody. We've been playing since the early access dropped, and there is a lot to process here. Like a lot. It's a big game. There's a lot going on. I've seen some really good discussions about Starfield cropping up. I think the one I've appreciated the most was listening to Carnage's take on things, and so that's sort of he kind of mirrors my feelings as well, um, which we're going to dive into in today's video, which is all about sort of my early thoughts on Starfield. I mean, we're I think 12 or so hours in. I'll take a look here in a minute when we actually get loaded into the campaign. We can actually show you guys how far I'm in, where I'm at in the campaign, and we're going to talk story beats. We're going to talk bugs, because yes, there are some things. We're going to talk optimization. It's flawless. Lots of great things, although I'm playing on the Series X, so I'm a little biased in that regards. But in any case, I've got thoughts. Hopefully you're here to listen to them. And if you are, awesome. If you're new, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. We stream every single day at 11 a.m. Central and usually go for 2 or 3 hours. There's a Discord, links are down below, and I do a lot of other games. Plus I do TV shows, film reviews, and a couple podcasts around Dune and Middle-earth. There's a lot of stuff that happens here on the channel, so hopefully you will check all that stuff out. And don't forget the private videos that are there for members. In the meantime, let's get into the game right now and actually take a look at where we're at, and we'll talk Starfield in all of its glory. So we are here on the loading screen. Let's go ahead and load up my first game and give us a look. I'm actually way farther than I thought. I'm more than 12 hours, everybody. I'm about 18 hours into the game, it looks like. So I've been playing for quite a bit. We've streamed, I think, 5-6 sessions now. We're going to load this game up. So, been having a lot of fun. It is a really, really, really good game. Like, I went into this knowing that it was a Bethesda game, and I love Bethesda games. I have loved every Bethesda game I've ever played, and I started playing with Morrowind, which was probably, I don't even know when that came out, like mid to late 90s or something like that. Um, I've played, I think the only thing I haven't played was Fallout New Vegas, I think was the only one, which everybody says is like the best one, which I think Obsidian had a part in that, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but I'm here in this particular place, which we got a side quest that we were working on. Let's take a look at my character real quick, because I have been really enjoying everything about this game and putting together like all the cosmetics and everything else. There's just so much going on in this game. Let me go see if I can't find a quiet place where there's not all these people chattering. I might need to go back to my ship here really quick, but as soon as I find a quiet place where there's not a lot of chatter in the background, I want to actually talk about something. So really quick, we're running around, and we can see that the optimization on the Series X anyway is flawless. I've watched a bunch of reviews that have showed that in terms of the optimization across all platforms, I think every outlet that I've read reviews around has said the same thing. It is a smooth as butter experience, and I think everyone has pretty much had the same thing to say. They think it's the best launch that Bethesda has ever had in terms of smoothness, optimization, lack of bugs, and so on and so forth, which is not to say that it is bug-free. There are absolutely some bugs in this game, and we will take a look here in a minute. But while we're out here, I mean, just the expansiveness of these places is just really impressive, and we can go between first person and third person. I prefer first person personally, just because I like to be immersed in this the same way that I like to play Cyberpunk 2077. Here's my ship, and there's Barrett, who is accompanying me on this journey right now. And we can take a look at this amazing facility, which is a mining facility on Mars. We're on Cydonia right now. So let me stop playing for a minute and actually talk about the game. So first and foremost, performance is amazing. I have heard of a random few outliers who have had some issues, and they are all on the PC, which is to be expected because, as we know, because we are intelligent people and we know how gaming works, and so we don't have emotional reactions, we have logical reactions. We know that when we look at the PC, there's a ship taking off somewhere. That was an incredible sound effect. When we look at the PC, there are hundreds and thousands, if you really want to get down to it, of differences between chipsets, GPUs, CPUs, monitors, power supplies, motherboards, RAM types, so on and so forth, and all of that can contribute to an nearly infinite amount of variables that no company can fully account for. There will be performance issues when you start dealing with all the amounts of hardware, which is one of the reasons I prefer to play my games these days on a console, because whether it's the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, or the Series S as well, when you're looking at a console version, it's one version for everybody, and a company can very quickly and easily fix things and optimize that for the best performance for everyone at the same time, whereas you can't do that with the PC version because there's infinite amounts of variables. That being said, this launch has been, from all accounts that I've seen, and from my opinion as well, it is the smoothest launch that Bethesda Studios has ever had, at least in the most recent history. A lot of people will say, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is a absolute beast of a game, a fun game. I have been playing the hell out of that game over the past month since it launched, doing all sorts of guides on my channel and everything else. Did not launch bug-free. It was a buggy hot mess. They have done, I believe I can't remember how many hot fixes now, 4 or 5 hot fixes that have fixed more than 1,000 bugs. Patch number 1 fixed more than 1,000 bugs. They have fixed thousands of bugs at this point. So people who are trying to compare Larian Studios to Bethesda and saying, if Larian Studios can make a flawless launch, why can't Bethesda? If you think that Larian Studios had a flawless launch with Baldur's Gate 3, you literally don't know what you're talking about, because it has had thousands of bugs that team has very quickly addressed and hotfixed. Sometimes it causes other things, but that's another discussion. The point is, every game launches with bugs. This launch for Bethesda has been, as far as I've been able to tell, a relatively bug-free and very optimized success. There have been some things even for me. A good example of this is the Ground Pounder mission, I think is what it's called. There was a moment when we were doing the space battle and the game locked up, and I had to restart my game on the Xbox Series X. The same mission, after we did the space battle sequence, we got back to the planet where you're supposed to defend against the pirates. That bugged out because when the ship came to land, I ran up to the ship and was killing the pirates as they came out of the ship. And one of the pirates fell down but wasn't quite killed, and the ship took off. And the ship disappeared, but it left the guy hanging in space. And I couldn't shoot him, I couldn't do anything with him. He was stuck up there beyond my reach, and I had to reload the game. So even I have seen a couple of bugs. Are they game breaking? Not in the least. They're just bugs. Bugs exist. Even on consoles, bugs can exist. But in terms of this being a buggy launch, it's not. It is a very, very amazingly bug-free launch, relatively bug-free launch. There are things that crop up, and that's important to know. Should you wait until they've patched things? I don't think you should, but if you want to, you can. But I'm playing since day one. I've got 18 hours in the game. Those are the only two things that I have seen, other than the occasional clipping of like a I remember one time we were going through New Atlantis, and we saw a mob drop down out of the sky as he spawned. It dropped down through the sky and landed and then went about his business. I've seen that in thousands of games. Bethesda is not unique in that. It's just literally something spawning. And then occasionally I've seen, when we've been talking to an NPC, we will occasionally get an NPC who wanders into the frame and will get between me and the NPC I'm talking to, and he'll like turn around and look at me and then wander off. That's kind of a wonky bug as well. Game breaking, not in the least. So a couple of different things that I've seen do not take away from my enjoyment at all. It's so far been a very smooth, relatively bug-free experience, and I think it is absolutely great. Now, let's get to the expansive nature of this game, because it is a massive, massive, massive game. There's a lot going on here. So, I have gotten, 20, let's just say I'm, 18, close to 20 hours in, and I've done a lot of stuff, but let's go check my mission log real quick. I've done quite a few missions. We'll go down in here and we could look at the things I've completed. These are all the ones that I've completed here. These are all these things. There's so much going on here. There's your main quests. There's faction quests, of which I've only uncovered 2, and there's all these different factions in the game. So I'm still very early in the game. There's the miscellaneous missions. There's the regular missions, which are like, bounty stuff, things like that. Then there's activities, which is just absolutely crazy. Which, by the way, if you haven't done this and you don't know this yet, Anytime you're wandering around, if you see a group of NPCs having a conversation, go sit and listen to them. Because generally speaking, when you see a group of people having a conversation, that will lead, if you eavesdrop, it will lead to an activity spawning from that conversation. Also, guards will often have, everybody has something to say to you, and these will lead to lots of activities. At one point in time, I had like 12 or 15 activities here, but I've cleared a lot of them out. But I haven't really explored any of the planets outside of New Atlantis yet. There's tons to see and do here. Um, Space combat is absolutely an amazing thing here. So we'll go into space real quick, but the big thing is that there is so much to do. There are so many quests. You get to choose how you want to do it. You could do the main quest with Constellation. You could do the faction quest for all the different factions. You can get companions and do companion quests. There's all these things you can do, but there's not just your regular RPG missions. There are also
cleaner than before? Huh. Nah.
So then you can get onto your ship, right? And go into space, and we can go have space missions, and space exploration, and space combat, and all this other stuff. Now, here's one thing I've heard people say. Because they'll say that, well, you don't even need to sit down in your cockpit, because you can access the map from pretty much anywhere, and you can just choose to... If I were to go to the map right now, and I was to go to the star map, and just, let's go to the surface map, and I pick something like Jupiter, and I go over here, and I can go to Europa. Like, I don't even have to go down into the view here. I could just set course right there, and then I can hit the X button, and I can travel there without any animation sequences whatsoever. And some people have complained about that, and they're like, well, that takes... It's supposed to be like No Man's Sky. It's supposed to be like Elite Dangerous. I need to be able to have atmospheric flight, and I need to be able to do this all manual, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I love this. I will never get tired of this right here. This animation sequence right here. I am never going to get tired of this. I've said this for years. I've played Star Wars: The Old Republic since it launched, and I never, ever, ever skip the cutscenes of planets, of ships landing and ships taking off. And this is the same thing. This right here, I love it. I love the fact that it's an animation sequence. And if you've noticed, there's been a couple of space battles that I've produced and released on my channel, when you're doing a hard turn and you're in space, your character will like throw out his hand and like grab onto the dashboard to like hold himself steady as you're like pulling back on the stick. Like, there's some really cool stuff that happens when you're sitting at this right here. But let's just choose to take off here, and this is where we're going to get into the sound design of the game, because the sound design in this game is phenomenal.
Time to leave this place behind.
Now, I don't have the sound cranked up right now because I'm recording for a video, so we don't have it quite balanced the same way we do in the streams. But in the streams, when you're piloting your ship around, you get all this noise of the thrusters and the kind of crackle and rattle of the ship around you. So we got something here, a couple of ships. Of course, you can go into third person if you want. Do a barrel roll. Alright, who are you and why are you following me? Let's hail.
Your safety is our #1 priority.
Alright, that's good to know. So my engines are powered down. You notice there's no... Yeah, there's the graphic. And the more you burn, the brighter the jets get. Like, sound design, the visual design, everything in this game looks absolutely phenomenal. And then to go, I just love this view right here. And of course, you can, once you're in here, we can decide that we want to go somewhere. And let's just say we want to, go to the star map. And let's say we want to go over to, let's go out to this view. Let's go to Jupiter real quick. Europa. Set a course, and we can choose to travel. We get a quick animation sequence here. I'm okay with that. And then there's the grav jump stuff that happens as well, which you can do. And now, boom, we're here in Europa and Moon of Jupiter's Sol system, and we can explore around here if we want, blow up some asteroids, get some mining
Unknown
resources.
vessel. Prepare to submit to.
Wait, I know him. He's the one that helped on Altair 2.
So,
This is Captain Young. Please acknowledge.
oh, I'm absolutely gonna acknowledge. What's up,
Nice
Captain?
to see you. Been busy risking your ass for total strangers, huh?
I have been, and yes. So this is another cool thing because I think that was the mission that we were talking about, the Ground Pounders mission. Oh, and I just sent credits to my parents because I have the kid trait going on. Um, little things like this. So, the quests I've done and the activities I've done lead to situations like this where I'm getting additional quests and activities. And that's the thing. There's a never-ending chain of things to do. You can just anywhere you go, whether it's a planet or it's space, there's tons of stuff to see and do, and it's the exploration of this that also appeals to me from a gaming standpoint, where I've said to somebody who was asking me, what do I think about this game compared to Baldur's Gate 3? And I said, well, they're two different games. Like, I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 because it satisfies my tabletop desires, and it's like the best CRPG I've ever played. But it's not the same thing. This, for me, is a science fiction life sim. I'm able to come in here and do things that I wouldn't be able to do in other games. And I love the fact that it's also an RPG at its heart. Quick commercial break, everyone, to give a shout out to all of these amazing people who are the guild champions at the highest tiered membership here on our channel. And of course, all of the members who help keep me full time and doing this for your enjoyment. If you would also like to become a member, you get access to tons of special stuff like live stream, member only chat, private videos for our members several times a week. It's really simple. Just pick your tier, go from there. You can also do super chats or super thanks on any stream, YouTube short, or video that you see. Don't forget the Discord. Links are down below. Let's get back to the video. And from everything I've seen from the promotional material and everything else, I never once misinterpreted, nor did I ever misconstrue what they were promising me. I always heard this at the forefront of everything they said. We're Bethesda. If you like Bethesda games, you're going to like Starfield because we are building a Bethesda game in space. So I knew from that moment I was going to get all of the things that make the hallmark Bethesda experience for me, which is great storylines, great RPG elements, lots of skills and exploration and everything else, and the ability to have that Skyrim in space or that Fallout 4 in space environment, while also having ship combat and space exploration and 1,000 planets and the outpost building and the research, which we haven't even talked about yet, because the whole research and crafting and everything else dude, it is so complex. Like, going in, if you go into the research part of the Constellation base and you're down there and you're like, there's all the machines for like weapons and spacesuits and food production, all this other stuff. But then you see the research machine and you go to the research machine and you realize that not only do you have to have the corresponding skills to use the research device, you then have to rank up your skills with the research device and research various tiers to be able to make the mods that are going to go onto your weapons in the first place, which leads to another skill tree, which leads to another skill tree, which leads to you needing to actually take the time and go, oh my god, I need to do these 10 prerequisites before I can do that, which means, oh my god, this game is huge. This is a game that is literally going to provide players with thousands of hours of gameplay for those who really want to have that life in space, like I do. At no point in time have I ever felt limited by what they have. And I want to back out of this really quick because I actually don't want to do this conversation real quick, because I want to land on a planet. And we're actually going to see what that looks like really quick. I clicked the wrong button here. I do have a quick save, so we'll come back to this here in a minute. So scan available, unavailable. Let's scan the planet. This is the moon of Jupiter. Let's set a landing target to just show what we're talking about here. So I can pick anywhere that I want to and land on this planet, right? And it's going to auto-generate, roughly 45 minutes of explorable space around me. Then I can take off, come back to space, pick a different landing spot, get another 45 minutes. You can literally explore the whole planet. But it's done in a way that it's procedural. And some people will say, well, it should do the whole planet when I land, and I should be able to explore the whole planet. Maybe in other games, but that's not how Bethesda has done it. Nor did Bethesda ever promise you that they were doing that way. They simply said they had procedural generation. You, the user, who chose to misinterpret that information, that's the crux of this here. So let's set a landing target and let's just land. I love it. Animation sequences are my jam, man. This is turning into like a 30-minute video, guys.
Cyber's let's set it down.
I love it. Alright, so from here I can choose the variety of ways, but let's just go straight off to the ship and let's go outside.
Suits on. Ready to go anytime. Hello. I'll gladly wear a suit if it means exploring a new world. But I can't imagine wearing it every day all the time.
Alright, so it's extreme ambient cold stuff going on. And now we're out here and we see this vast landscape around us, which we could go explore. I'm going to bring up my scanner and we start looking around and see if there's anything to see in the direct vicinity. Oh, suddenly this popped up. Well, what is that? That's something that's 1,000 meters out. It says unknown. Well, let's scan it. That's a structure. So now I have a structure I can go look at. Oh, here's another one over here. Unknown. Scan it. There's a structure in that direction. Also something over here. Ship landing site. Over there. We might have to go check that out here in a second. What else we got? Just run around the other side of the ship. Oh, there's a structure over here that we can ping and say, okay, we can go check that out as well. So and I have the tier 1 of the scanner. Like, your scanner gets better as you level it up and you can scan farther out and so on and so forth. So I just have the tier 1 thing, and we've already uncovered multiple things that we could go explore if we wanted to head out in any general direction. So I can head in that direction and manually go there if I want. And here's another one. Here's another one I've heard from people. Well, there should be, this is what I've heard. Mass Effect had ground vehicles. Why doesn't Starfield have ground vehicles? Because they chose not to have ground vehicles. Am I going to criticize the game for not having ground vehicles? No. And Todd's answer to this was, well, you have the boost pack, which is this right here. And some people say, well, the boost pack's not the same thing as having a ground vehicle. It's not. It's different, but it's still a valid way of exploration. It's just the way that they've chosen to do it. Also, by the way, the gravity that changes depending on the planet you're on is really cool. It's a really awesome thing to have different gravities. So certain gravities you'll be able to jump farther and go faster, and other ones you can't because the gravity is so heavy that it's pulling you down. It's a really cool thing because all the planets are different with the atmospheres and ambient temperatures and all the environmental stuff that can affect you, everything else. But let's just go show you what I was talking about. So let's go back into the ship really quick. And I'm going to go straight to the cockpit from here this time.
It is.
Oops, I need to go back into first person too. So let's go straight to the cockpit from here. Now let's go to the star map. Go to the star map. And then from here, we now have, if we pan this around, we now have a landing area that's been explored here. And we saw on the map there was other stuff that we could explore right in that area. But let's say I don't want to choose to do any of those, but I want to go somewhere else. Well, I'm going to set a landing target over here on the complete opposite side of the planet, and we're going to travel to it, and we're going to land. And now it's going to spawn another explorable section of the planet around me. So you can't.
Struts primed. Retros firing.
You literally cannot say that Bethesda did not give you a fully explorable planet, because you can fully explore these planets. It's just the way that they've done it is different than like No Man's Sky has done it. So you really can't make that comparison because No Man's Sky is using different technology, doing different things, and they don't have the complexities of RPG stuff like the companions and the conversation trees and the persuasion system and the lock picking and the thieving and the relationships and side quests and missions and activities and all of these things. No Man's Sky has its own version of those things, but it's not complex in the way that it is here. So again, coming back to the whole, if you love Bethesda games, then this is the perfect game. Because those of us who love Bethesda games are getting exactly what we knew we were getting in the first place, which is a Bethesda game in space, which is really awesome. It's really, really good. So I've said all of that to say this in 30 minutes. My early thoughts on the game are that it is really, really, really good. It is the best Bethesda launch I've ever seen in my lifetime, other than perhaps maybe going back to like Morrowind before the days of the internet. And I know a lot of people will like to look back to the past and say, back in the day before games were released as a service, you were able to get a game and buy it at launch day, and it was a perfect experience, and there were no bugs, and you didn't have to wait for a day one patch, and there didn't have to be hot fixes and all this other stuff. Do you know what else was different about games that launched 20 or 30 years ago? The complexity level and the scope of those games was much less. We also didn't have the infinite array of hardware that we have today, which makes it much more difficult for companies to optimize a game and completely rid it of all the bugs before it launches. So, is this a bug-free game? No, there are bugs. Sure, every game launches with bugs these days. It's a natural part of the launch process. Is this a great game? Yes, it is. Hell yes, it's a great game. If you're someone who went into it expecting a Bethesda game, you're getting everything you wanted and more. I've said this in all of my live streams. This game has exceeded my expectations in every way, shape, or form. I knew what I was getting when I pre-ordered it, and I got way more than that. This has provided me with a level of fun and immersion that I haven't had in a very long time. And it's different than my Baldur's Gate 3 experience, because Baldur's Gate 3 is providing me with that itch that needs to be scratched when it comes to playing Dungeons and Dragons and tabletops and CRPGs. Completely different. Here I've got which we didn't even cover in this particular video. Because I've got other videos, and we'll do another big review and a first impressions video and all this other stuff later on. So this is just my early thoughts. The combat in this game is also a lot of fun. The FPS combat, the customizability of the weapons is amazing. All the different types of weapons that you can have, the way the weapons fire in zero G versus actual grav environments. There is a lot going on in this game, and it's a lot of different elements blended together, and it just works. So from my perspective, my early thoughts are that I would easily give this game a 9.5 out of 10. The only thing that detracts from it in my mind so far is there are occasionally some lines of dialogue that feel a little cheesy to me or a little off. Perhaps the voice acting isn't exactly the same. And I've seen some people say that the facial animations look completely crap in comparison to Baldur's Gate 3. They're different. They're not crap. This is a different art style. It's a different direction. I've sat here and played 18 hours of the game so far, and I can tell you that even though it's different than the mocap that they did for Baldur's Gate 3 as an example, this is where, in my mind, it looks great. It looks great. I don't have a problem with it. It's a little less detailed than Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm okay with that. It's just a different art style. It's a different engine, something else to keep in mind, and they've just gone a different direction with it. But it's still very, very good for the times. And I've seen some people claim that, oh no, it's not. It looks like dog shit. It doesn't look any better than Fallout 4, and it doesn't look any better than Skyrim. It looks like they're just using the same engine that they... Blah, blah, blah. You are welcome to have that opinion, but I'm not going to agree with you on it. In my mind, playing on the Series X, everything that I've seen looks very, very good. It looks like a next-gen console game, and I'm very satisfied with my experience so far. Like I said, and 9.5 out of me for this game, 9.5 out of 10. I could probably even go as far as a 10 out of 10 if I could put out of my mind for a minute the writer inside of me who's like critiquing the little lines of dialogue. There's also some of that going on Baldur's Gate 3. I've seen some kind of cheesy dialogues and everything else, but I'm so in love with that game that I've been willing to ignore that. And more than likely, by the time I get to my full review of this game and my full first impressions, I'll probably learn to just get around that as well, and probably end up giving this a 10 out of 10. But for now, it's like an easy 9.5 out of 10 for me. I have nothing bad to say about this game. It is a great experience, no game-breaking bugs, highly optimized, highly polished, highly addictive. It's so good. And I'm just having lots of fun. So, yeah. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, everybody, because we got lots more Starfield coming to you. And this is easily going to be, with Baldur's Gate 3, I've got the next 2 years of my life and content creation here on my channel wrapped up around these games. So if that sounds good to you, and you're also ready for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, which is coming at the end of September, and that's getting added into the mix, we've got the next year of content on this channel already figured out. And then next year we're going to be adding, get this, Star Wars Outlaws to the mix, and Avowed from Obsidian Entertainment into the mix. Probably a little bit of Fable, and who knows what else, because we don't know what else is coming out next year. Oh my God, it's a great time to be alive, everybody, and it's a great time to be an Xbox gamer as well. I'm loving my Series X. I know this is also available on the PC, but lots of different ways to play. Love to hear your thoughts.